So let's look at this keyboard pad, which I was trying to make wider. Okay, let's find out if in fact what I'm doing to it helps, right? So here it is right here, it starts. So that's friggin' murky. Right, and I'm blending in the low end here to that track. So what I'll do is it sounds like it's blowing up a little bit, right? I'll look at these two things that are sharing, right? Which is these guys right here. Oh. It's like that 10cc song. Okay, why not? So I want this swell to poke out. So I'll just cut the track up and I'll bring that level in the front up and I'll lower these down. Right? And the rest of it, hear that, balance. And let's just try my mix up on this. There's the note I need there. And then it switches sounds. And that's real mono. Try the widener. That's pretty good. Whoa, it's tilting. Whoa, it's a runaway. Whoa, he's drunk. That's pretty cool. Okay, that's helping. So that's the max width on that. And then as it becomes something else, no, it goes back to that guy. And that seems good in the track there. Are they both the same? Beautiful. Okay. Let's hear that in context. See what that does. So here's all three pianos at once. Let's just make sure we know what they do. One of the funny things that happens is you'll have this loop playback. If you turn that off, it won't make these weird loops when you don't set it up right. So let's look at these pianos and see how they work. All right, we have one call low. Okay, that's just the low part. Okay. Got it. So I'm utilizing the balance from the record, however it came, just making it 0 here, and that seems to work. So that puts me on forward to where the strings come in. And here they are. Oh, they're pretty good. Let's see what they do here. One of the problems I usually have with all live strings is for some reason it always sounds scooped. There's no mids. It's always that really shiny high note. All the melodies are in the mid-range. So there I'm hearing more of the notes, right? And then I thought maybe if I put this on it would help. Not sure about that. It just tops it off, right? But it feels a little bit narrow. So why don't we, let's utilize this imager. Ooh, now does it get all weird out of phase? Not bad, but let's not go super wide, right? Pretty good. How's that sound on the track though? Because you're never going to just hear the strings by themselves, are you? We'll close that plugin down and we'll look back at the song. Now I'm hearing the moving lines of the strings. That worked. But maybe they need a little reverb. All those choices, right? All those thoughts. I'll just look at what I have in the reverb department and maybe I'll add a little tail on them and I'll go down here and see what we have. Oh, see what we have in stock, right? Of course, there is the Vintage Reverb by Valhalla, which is actually pretty good. Just as it comes out the box, let's put that on this part. Some more pre-delay. Not terrible. Because it's some landscape, right? So it's not so apparent. Sometimes if things are too dry, they become too apparent in the song, right? So we'll just fix that, make all these the same size, because I think those are working, right? So I have the track in a pretty good place. Let's get rid of the plugins we're not going to use, because you don't want to open up the session 20 years after this and say, hey, let's see what Chris did back then in the day, right? And see what happens. Let's go to a loud, powerful section and see how the drums are holding up. I do hear the acoustics might be a hair too shiny. That's better. It's all context, right? So even when I hear this in all its grand glory, I'm like, okay, now the drums are feeling a little boring. So, why EQ them first? Let's EQ them while we have, the track playing. Add some low end to the kick. A little bit of top. Let's see what we can do with the snare. We get some low end out of it. Better for me already. And then we have a second kick. Make sure our bass isn't taking over the whole record. It still sounds a little bit, because he's playing a 5-string. So I will just use a little more mid-range on him here. My string's better there. I lowered that one section. So before we jump into vocals, I'll just recap. The only reverb we're using is either built in on the strings or a little bit on the drums. They have their own reverb. Guitars, dry. No console EQ. Just the sound of the console, right? So that's working there. And we'll see if we have to add more EQ to the guitars as the song goes. So let's explain why there's a variety of plugins and why I use certain ones. So for example, on bass especially, I found that my favorite, just for the mid-range on the bass, is a 1073, and the UA one's really good. So I'll use that because that just brings out the character. I could use 1K on any EQ, but this bandwidth and how it's set up works perfect for me and adds just the right amount for me. If I go to the pad, something like that seemed to bring out what I wanted, right? And then this Imager, it's like the best widener I've come to. I've tried them all, but this is the one that I find works the best. The second choice would be one called the Side Widener, but we don't have that in stock, but I use what we have in stock, which works great. If I look at the strings again, well, I'm using a very broad little EQ boost, then a little bit of compression, the widener, and then the reverb. It could go either way, but I put the reverb blast and it seemed to work great. I like this verb. This is so nice and warm and it has some modulation. So it just adds a little bit of texture to that. Since I like this Neve, it's really aggressive, or it does at the top end. It's great for acoustic also versus anything else I use. And then just use, of course, my LA3A, the CLA3A, which has a great sound. And the other part of variety would be this other EQ. The thing I like about the SSL EQ is that it's pretty invisible, where the Neve automatically adds character. So that really helps me on this, just to get some top end out of this guitar. And if we go back, the mix hub helps me on these just to add mid-range and the high end that I need. I like those there because it's more like the console. And then on the vocals, we'll find out if my go-to settings work great.